Alrighty, folks. Today is a banger interview with Michael. He's one of our clients at agentattraction.io. Michael, I've got a lot of questions for you today because I've seen you doing a lot of good things in the school community. I've seen you crushing it. Obviously, I think a lot of people watching today can benefit from this. First things first, I want to introduce Michael, of course. So, Michael is at Real Broker. He's obviously been crushing inside the program. I always see your wins. But I want you to obviously take over the mic and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the real estate industry for, and what you're just working on right now in general.
Okay. All right, Rob. I appreciate you having me on. So I spent 20 years in corporate sales in the business development role. I was, top 1% across a couple different companies. That's really kind of a manual process. That was phone calls and emails and such. And then I essentially came across LinkedIn outreach tools that leveraged automation, and that I found that I was able to get two appointments per day versus two per week by using this tool. And then as opposed to going, staying in this industry that was starting to shrink, I, leaned on this automation platform. And then all of a sudden I built an agency around it. There was others like me that shared the same pain points. And so what this would do is essentially automate a lot of the manual tasks that happen in sales, when really the magical moment is when you are in front of the client with a solution to a problem that they have at the moment that they have it. And this tool really helped optimize my time. It was kind of an 80/20 sort of scenario. And I've always had real estate on the side. I'm essentially a real estate investor gone realtor. I got licensed maybe 8, 10 years ago, something like that. And for about the first 4 years, I didn't tell anybody that I was a real estate agent. I was like a secret agent. And I was just doing it for the buyer side commission. And then I found that a lot of people kept asking me, how do I invest in real estate? I kept getting a lot of questions and stuff. I even ended up writing a book on this topic. And that's when I really just kind of embraced real estate agency representing others as a vehicle to give back, to help, to share with others, and then also get some compensation as a result of doing that. So yeah, that's kind of what's brought me up until today.
I love it. And of course, I know that you know a lot of things that with LinkedIn, and I remember writing helping with the video sales that are stuff. But I think one of the things that I really resonate with you was obviously your understanding of marketing, and you understanding that the offer has to be irresistible. And one of the things obviously when it comes to real estate in the industry right now is that obviously there's a lot of ways to make money in the real estate industry, right? And there's more and more ways emerging consistently. Obviously, one of the ways is agent attraction. A lot of brokerages are merging. I think I know you're with Rio, but there's obviously EXP, and then there's new ones. I think there's a new one coming out called Energy. There's a Realty of America. Epic is there. There's a lot more. I think there's probably one or two that are just popping. I think every single year there's going to be new and new startups in the cloud-based brokerage space. So obviously, agent attraction is something that can be lucrative. It's tough, very challenging. I think it was one of those things that was really nice way back the day when it was a new opportunity. Now you have to be, especially with a lot of the recruiting guidelines in place, first of all, careful, but secondly, a lot more marketing savvy. Obviously, you are using a funnel, and a funnel, online funnel for those people who are watching. You get people to click an ad, watch an ad, understand everything. And you're running ad to a new opportunity. Obviously, we won't get into the specifics today, but I wanna really ask you, like, how does your marketing funnel work, where you can also attract folks in, but also you have the ability as well to sell the digital product. I know that that's not the biggest focus right now for you as well, but nonetheless, the funnel is the key piece here. So walk me through your funnel, like. What happens when a stranger sees a click? Walk me through the whole process.
Okay, I'll get to that, but I want to take it one step further because when we've, prior to me coming on board with you guys, I literally had on my whiteboard my goal list for 2025, and it was to attract 50 agents. I'm not necessarily in this for the transactional business of doing real estate. I see that the bigger play is the rev share and the passive income. Like that's why I'm doing all of this. And because I was with EXP for 2 years, and last year my sponsor retired with a seven-figure per month passive income, and he was there during he was an early adapter to that model. And obviously that always is going to come with nobody's going to know the brand. There's going to be system issues. There's a price to pay to being an early adapter to anything. And so I literally had on my whiteboard, 50 agents by a certain date in 2025. And then all of a sudden your ad appeared. And I was already prone and destined to, leaning in that direction. And so, but I was also had already taken some steps towards that. And my method is coming from my corporate sales background is let's make phone calls. Let's do push out, push out, push out, you know, and when I met with you guys, your team, essentially I was able to learn a whole new reverse philosophy on all of this. That it wasn't about going out with a spear, it was about having the right bait for the fish, and that's literally the premise or the foundation to creating the funnel. So you understand who you're trying to attract, who the fish is, and you find out what they like the most, what their pain points are. And so through just following and I'm really good at following steps. So you guys have done a great job of laying out just next step, next step. This is what you do. And so I just followed along, filled in the blanks, and out of the backside came a compelling offer to the people that I was trying to attract. And then also the technology side support, which not all real estate agents are technically savvy. I, included in that, learning as we go. But the support there to be able to connect all the technical dots to be able to put together actual automation system that is inbound versus outbound with the right message to the right people, that is resonating, and then measuring that and bringing them into dropping them onto a video sales letter, that essentially kind of takes off some of their questions, some of the common objections or fears or buyer resistance they may have, and also providing the social proof of, to reinstill that confidence in them has made it by the time they get to me, they're ready to go. So
And
it's been an interesting flip of, my old B2B old school days to a modern model.
exactly. And I think that like I mean in any kind of model like this where like there is a incentive to attract, right? Obviously, the best marketers always win. Similar thing also is in the I know a lot of people in the insurance industry, and they use like a lot of LinkedIn automation tools to attract and then also recruit. And in fact, I'm actually setting something up like that with someone that I'm very close with. So like they're very similar in I think it's about spotting opportunities. And one of the things that I want to highlight on is like the way you see real estate, right? Like I think a lot of people, not that like obviously like when we talk about revenue share production, it's what fuels it, and that's very, very important. But I think that if I take a look at it, right, like there's most people in real estate are the best are going to be spotting the best opportunities and aligning themselves. I think one of the reasons why it's so hard to do revenue share is because there's not like an actual system where you can break down the numbers. And for you, I think when you obviously have people clicking on an ad, they're understanding an irresistible offer, basically. Alex Hormozy talks about they watch a video sales letter, they go to the video sales letter, they fill out an application, right? Or do they just book a call with you?
They just a form. They fill out a form that
Okay.
that kind of filters them a little bit
Is that form on your funnel or is that form
on
on the lead form?
on the Facebook page.
Facebook lead form, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah. And it's funny because like you're already getting people booking. What's like the show up rate on those appointments on average?
Obviously, any a little reminder here and there doesn't hurt. They are real estate people. They are pulled in different directions. I would say probably three and four, 3 out of 4 show up.
That's really solid, and then that just goes to show as well that when an offer is solid, your show up rate's going to be good too. And I always think about it like your funnel's already doing well. I would just put more gas towards it. But I just take a look at it from like an advanced marketing level. For those people watching, they may or may not get this, but I could just imagine if we were to, really dial in on like the retargeting ads that people have before they will come to you, the video sales that are we can enhance it and even have a different production quality, ad quality. We can cycle the creatives. We can do pixel conditioning. For example, here's what pixel conditioning is, just to give you guys context, because I know this stuff is getting really marketing nerd talk. If you have an application on the page, we can filter out people that are maybe team leaders that have 1 to 3 people on their team or minimum, or 5+ agents on their team. They're doing like dozens of transaction size per year minimum. They're doing a certain amount of GCI. They've been in the game for like 5+ years. You can just get that information and send it back to Facebook. And Facebook has 52,000 data points. We don't even know more than 100 data points about ourselves, pretty much. 52,000 is insane. They'll only send you people like that. And like I can tell a prime example, people that typically work with us at Agent Attraction, they are very serious about agent attraction. They also have, on average, 1 to 25 people in their downline existing or rev share network, and they are at a brokerage as a rev share. Like, so what we realized is like when we had a lot of people when we first launched ads, we had people all over the place, right? And because of that, one of the issues that happened is because we had a lot of people that were like they knew about rev share, but they didn't really were all in on it. So we actually conditioned our pixel, and now everyone that books is very serious about agent attraction revenue share. The same concept can be applied as well. For example, the particular program, I'm not going to get into details, but I know it's only available in certain areas. And you can actually ask an application question, are you in any one of these states? If they click yes, then they don't target more people like that. So I mean, honestly, what I would do in that case is because your particular program you're marketing is going to eventually open up to every single state, I would just have a waiting list. And I think you're already working on that, right? But let's dive back into it, right? So obviously, you're doing quite well with this right now. On average, how much are you spending on ads every single month?
I've got my ad spend pretty low. We're just, but our click through and conversion costs are really optimized. I mean, I'm only, I don't know, maybe $600 currently.
Okay, okay.
Like
So
I've really dialed it down because I had to do it because I was getting inundated with responses. So I even I had to cut it in half because there's only so many hours in a day.
and your lead cost was like, under $5, right? I think
I think it's 2 to 3.
2 to 3. And with that, like, and a lot of people are booking as well, by themselves, or do you have an appointment center booking them?
It's there a lot of there's some it flows in a couple different ways. So they are provided an option to book a meeting, but the moment that they come in, they're receiving, speed to lead, they're receiving an SMS and an email right away to, share that we see them, and then essentially I'm filtering based upon their form answers into different buckets, and basically that allows me to prioritize my selling time. So I'm
Mm.
obviously calling on the A players, first thing, and basically just text, email, call, same script, same playbook that you guys have taught me.
So it's like, are a majority of your appointments coming in from you setting them, or are they booking themselves to the funnel?
Going right to my link, like it's provided as an option during that first email or first.
The funnel, they could book a call
Yeah,
directly with
yeah,
you.
it's also on also on my landing page. They can get in a couple different ways.
I see. I see. Um, and you don't have like appointments that are calling up your opt-ins, right? At the moment.
I don't. No.
I
And
think
then
yeah.
I know you've definitely got me thinking about that. There's definitely room for scale. So we've proven out the model, the offer. We've got the metrics. We're not that far into this, but we've just gotten a lot of traction. Um, the other thing is that we're literally able to uh, one call close. Like when I talk to them. I go, I find out about them, share a little bit about this is the old way that it was done, this is the new way that it's done, and they're literally, what's the next step? Like they're in,
I know.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not necessarily like a package where they hand over money and they receive something right away. There's a little bit of a delayed transition period. So it's not like changing over a real estate company
Yeah.
immediately.
And they're okay with that too because the price is so good on the other side. And I think, I think for you, I think if you were to scale this, which I mean, I think you could generally scale to dozens of people a month, under $1,000 a month in ad spend. I think the only thing that you would have to do, uh, is do more, and then over time you'll get better. When I mean better is like, okay, can we make the funnel better? Can we make the emails better? Can we actually make the emails deliver better? Retargeting, text blasts, appointment setters, all that kind of stuff. I think, for example, with $600 right now, what you're doing a month, you could probably double the output by just not even increasing the ad spend, just making it more efficient, which is where I would put a lot of the effort in. That being said, obviously, I think a constraint for you that's going to probably happen is you're going to start to get so many appointments on your calendar where you're capped like 8 appointments a day.
Yeah. Well, I already started off by there is one link that is part of on the landing page that actually registers them with our company. It goes into their CRM and they go on their radar. Um, they didn't know what because I applied this system to that. I had I inundated them with they're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, there's nobody that's ever done this before. What's going on with this guy? What is he doing? And uh, obviously there could have been a little bit better filtering going on there, but that's something that you add the friction to the frequency and, to always constantly be optimizing. But they were freaked out by it.
I know. Yeah, it's definitely a good problem to have. And I think I'm just trying to think like, I mean, technically you probably have to ask the company um if you could have a closer there or you would have to hire like one of their recruiters, which I'm pretty sure they're happily going to be able to place for this particular opportunity, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're that is a possibility. The onboarding is the bottleneck. The bringing them on because there is a little bit of, there's regulations and things of that nature to
Yeah,
comply with. So it's not just sign here. There's a little bit more to it, and it does take resources. And so as this has gone along, initially I've just constantly raised the bar, to optimize, who I'm talking to.
100%. Yeah, and I'm sure like, that's more of a fulfillment bottleneck for them to onboard. I'm sure they could figure out stuff like group onboarding and all that kind of stuff if it comes to it, right? I know, but the definitely the good thing is you've got the fuel to the fire, the marketing engine, the attraction engine, really people coming to you, which is a good thing.
Yep.
So obviously, I see you crushing this year. I'm always excited because even I know me and you were talking about this before the interview, and I just see this. I'm like, wow, this is like a gold mine. But obviously, your offer, I can see it really crushing. What is your goal with this at the end of the year? I know we're like Q1 just finished. What are you trying to scale this to?
Okay, so one of the things that has happened is that obviously, this is about real estate agent attraction, is that when you have a really good offer and you're in those, it's kind of like a Trojan horse. You get into conversations, you're able to build rapport, you're able to ask questions. What I've found in a lot of these meetings is that people will disclose, they don't like their split, they don't like the team that they're on. They, feel under, they're doing a split and then they've also got a split with the company, things like that. So it leads into, it's a natural conversation to lead into a real estate attraction conversation. My goal with this is to, constantly, obviously, optimize the workflow, and so that there's always the best ROI on this. But it is to have, I think, what I wrote on that whiteboard is to have 50 agents, and they can be either, doing what I'm doing, or on the real estate side, or what it is that I'm doing.
I would even argue like once you get those 15, it's the next best use case of your time is teaching those 50 agents what you're doing, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
obviously the right people, not everyone. And then, then you could just really compound it, which is obviously where you get the benefit of it, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm working on, so it takes a little time to get them in, and then once they're in, and we get them situated, then yes, I plan on teaching them how to fish.
I mean, yeah, like I think once they get the taste of the product, product tells itself. Like I know obviously marketing and sales is important, but in this kind of particular situation, if the product and offer is so good, it will spread on its own by word of mouth. It's just that, obviously in this particular case, you were early to the wave and you were capturing a lot of that, which is good.
Yeah.
Uh, so I want to ask a couple of questions. Like I know obviously before you started working with us, what were like some of your biggest challenges with agent attraction and like recruiting?
Okay. So obviously, my old school corporate trainings was, it's a numbers game, but it's a numbers game and a relevancy game. So that was my methodology. That's all that I knew how to do. So even better on this model has been, even with my LinkedIn automation stuff, that was still kind of a numeric, relevancy numbers game. Um, but with this, utilizing the right bait to bring people to you, more of an inbound model, so that everybody that you're talking to has already raised their hand and indicated their interest. Just switched how I thought about things. A lot of my same skills in the actual sale process translate over, but I was just missing a little bit of the direction of the flow.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think basically you just went from chasing to attracting. That's the biggest shift, right?
Yep.
I think also like one thing I want to highlight for anyone watching, obviously, is I know what a lot of brokerages, right? Doing cold prospecting. It there's a lot of iffy areas, and also like like it's hard to scale cold prospecting because then you can end up with stuff where like when people opt into you, it's a whole different thing, right? Because they consent to receiving marketing material. Whereas if we're marketing and we're doing cold prospecting, there's stuff like a do not call registry, there's a can spam act. I've seen people getting screwed on that. So I think it's always like a little bit of a sticky area when it comes to that, right? That being said, um, when you saw our ad, right? Obviously, probably myself or whatever was in it, you clicked on it. What made you like really decide to join and work with us?
Okay, so one of the things when a marketer gets marketed to, it's not so much even the message, it's the methodology. So the everything that you guys have done, both on the initial ad to the follow-up emails to the texts, were all things like, wow, I wish I had this level of aptitude in my business. So it was how you marketed. I was watching what you did more than listening to what you said. And
Yeah,
so that was really what instilled my confidence. Like, I need these guys on my team, man. I need to be on the same side of the table as these guys.
yeah. No, what we run is a video sales that are call funnel to a high ticket digital product. So it's funny because like we teach a lot of our clients how to run like irresistible offers, run ads to a digital product or like some sort of educational offering. And that is also separate from the rev share or the downline. That way you're obviously compliant as well because you're two separate entities. Obviously they work very synonymously. But that's exactly what we do. I mean, we run as two video sales that are to a call with people jump on a call with the people, right? Same thing with a lot of our clients, like we do the same thing. So it's very much a flywheel because everything that we learn, we teach right to our clients. Um, and obviously, so walk me through the process, like of your experience. So like you started off first couple of weeks, you set everything up, video sales that are ads. How long did it take for you to get the show rolling?
Okay, so well, let's also talk about the fact that I didn't really have the money for the program at the time that I wanted it, and I knew that I needed it. It was literally like something that kept me up at night. And, there's always that resistance. Um, but somehow, some way, I took a bet on myself. If you don't do that, who will? And so I was able to figure that out. I had a little crypto over here, I had a couple stocks, over here, and I was able to make that work. And being on the other side of it, glad that I did, do that. I think it's going to pay out huge dividends for years to come. And it really shifted and took my marketing up to a new level that, I was, yeah. So with the new input, and what was your question about?
Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much handled it, but like, in terms of like the actual like steps, and
Oh,
I know also in the investment too, like obviously working with us is not cheap at all. I know because like obviously what the prices we charge, but I'm glad that you jumped on because now you have like a system scale. But
yeah.
in terms of like when you first came in, like how long, how many weeks, how much effort did it take to get everything up and running to get to the point where you're at right now, where you have a lot of calls, people opting in, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
So we're doing this at the beginning of April. I essentially started about uh, pretty close to first part of December, something like that. So it took me about a month, maybe 3 weeks to get everything. There's a lot of people out and holidays and stuff to actually get to launching my first ads. Creating my video sales letter, following the steps, and I was able to get volume right away, but then I was missing a little bit of my how I was presenting. Wasn't necessarily resonating well because I was, yeah, maybe not following the script a little bit and the coaching. And then I'm seeing all these examples. There's so much social proof within the community that this works. So that actually kept me going, because you start to doubt yourself a little bit, like maybe I don't have what it takes to make this formula work. Maybe there's something, off about me, whatever. And so, but I just, continue to stay plugged in, continue to go to the meetings, and then pretty soon you have a little bit of a success. You get your first meeting booked, or you get your first yes, or you get, and then just basically because I had learned the system, I already had the system up. I actually found an offer that I pivoted to off of what I was doing that I felt would resonate better with the audience that I was trying to attract. And I had all that system, all that training, all that time inside of a CRM. So I was very familiar with how everything works. And I was able to make a transition like that into a new path, new offer, and all of a sudden everything just lit up. All the dots lit up.
I think there's a lot of stuff that I want to unpack there. Obviously, like I do see, of course, on a lot of our calls and the coaching calls, and that's why like a lot of people that come to our company, they think it's like a service, but it's like we instead it's more of a consultancy and coaching because we want to equip the clients with a skill set because when they see an opportunity like you did, they can pivot on the fly, take advantage of it. Um, that's like sort of like my own personal story too. Like, a lot of the first couple of years of my journey, I learned a lot about marketing, I knew everything. And then when I just saw opportunities, I was able to launch an offer up within 1 or 2 weeks and capitalize. Like a prime example was like I saw the agent attraction opportunity. I pivoted and I was able to launch the offer within a couple of weeks and turn this into a business that is doing 7 figures, right? So I think when a lot of the clients, the community, what they see, and they understand how marketing works and they can understand how to write video sales letters, how to do paid ads, how to do sales team setters and everything, you have the skill set. And then you can always like, do new things. I'm sure in the future your company will have even better offers. I'm sure that they're going to have other things. We never know. But it's all about capturing opportunity. You got to be right that one time and scaling it, which obviously you've done, right? So like you learned everything, and even most people like when they come to calls, they usually have one constraint that they're solving. So for some of our clients, it's like they're not getting enough appointments. Once they're getting enough appointments, they can't close them. And then you can come to sales clinics and get that constraint solved. That might take a couple of days or a week or two, depending on every person. Once that's solved, then it has more and more floodgates. If I were to say, for example, your current funnel right now, the constraint is not leads, it's not enough appointments. I would say, in my opinion, it's probably you are the constraint in a good way because you have to now remove yourself because you can't really scale it further. Sure, there's things you can do where you can get the right agents in and get the right people in and really dial in on that. I know you were talking about earlier, but really the constraint's going to be you can't take more than 8 calls a day,
Mm.
right? Which is obviously a good problem to have, and you can solve that within a couple of weeks. Um, I wanted to ask you as well. I know part of our community, like one or two more questions left. How many folks have you attracted so far, or like are in conversation and to partner up with you? That's the first question. The second question is, on average, how many appointments are you generating on a monthly basis?
Okay, so I've had three people join me on the agent side as the byproduct, and then in my main, what I'm focused on right now, I have 11 confirmed that are they're in the middle of onboarding. There's obviously some steps to do that. I would say appointments per month is probably somewhere around 20 appointments, but I'm also people are picking up the phone and we're having our sales appointment literally with just an outbound phone call and they're agreeing and to go down the path to follow the steps to get them onboarded. So,
Oh, so not everything's a Zoom call, right?
what's that? It's
Not
not all, it doesn't
everything.
all need to happen over a Zoom call like this. They get it like that. It's an easy story to tell and for them to understand and for them to resonate. The part about the onboarding, it just takes a little bit of time to do that just naturally.
I
So
know. Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, what I would do, I would just keep an eye out for that. I mean, this is more of a side note. Like, depending on when they are on the other side, if they're not as motivated, I would only stick to resort to a Zoom call because then they might sign up and then they might not actually ever make use of the opportunity there. So I would only, you can see, you can do the test on it, but like you can make it where like the mandatory Zoom call because it builds like that onboarding and it builds like that relationship with you and they actually get to see you, right?
Hmm.
Um, Nonetheless, that's pretty solid. I did the math right now. It's $30 or below an appointment, which is insane. Like some people pay $30 a lead. I know I probably pay like $50 or more per opt-in, right, for my offer and $600 for a qualified application, $500. So you're crushing it with that. Numbers are definitely huge. And in terms of the community in general, how's that been? How's the coaching calls been? What's been your experience with that?
Okay, so there are times when you get busy doing what you're doing and plugging back into sometimes you can get away from the community a little bit, but it's almost like a recharge. It's like the battery goes up when you plug into the calls. I do appreciate how consistent they've been. And then just especially in the beginning, those early phases as you're setting things up, just the social proof, because you have doubts. We're human. We have doubts. We have about our inequities. It's just natural. And but when you see that physical proof over and over and over, it instills in you the faith that you too can do that too. As cliche-ish as that sounds, uh, you're just looking for an example, like is this it, or is this a scam, or is this what is this? And then when you meet the people that are telling the stories and they're going down the same path that you did, and they say, "Yeah, I had doubts too," and then they get the results. I just think that that's everything. That's like the lighthouse as you're kind of working through the program. And so, I plug in there whenever I need a little bump and enthusiasm and conviction. And there's always great content that is shared, and it's real live examples that probably happened within the week.
100%. Yeah, we post the wins a lot. We try to encourage everyone. I think even obviously I'll post an interview because I think a lot of the people in the community can hear this. They'll get a lot of motivation from this too, I'm sure. Um, And yeah, I think the last two questions really is like how have these results impacted your business and life overall? That's the first question. We'll start there, and then I'll ask the last question.
Business and life overall. Yeah, so there is there's kind of getting by and there's getting beat up by resistance and things like that. But there is nothing more exciting when something is working and clicking. Like that's just a great place to live in. It's kind of like there's a saying that a dog in the hunt doesn't know he has fleas. Is you are literally like when you're focused and you're accomplishing your goals, that's the best way to live. Where you can't wait to get up to get at it. And your mind sometimes it can cost you some sleep because you're constantly chewing on how can I make this better. And so yeah, it's exciting.
Love it. I love it. And what would you say to someone that's on the fence to join the program? What's your words of wisdom for them?
Okay, there's usually if you could have solved the problem, you would have already solved it by now. It's usually just one little tweak or one little thing. Like for me, I can get hung up on technology, how Zapier works, or how this application ties to this application, or how something flows. That could be the end of you. Like you might not be able to solve that problem. You get discouraged, you go in a different direction. But we there's a very clear path that sometimes, you'll get off base, you'll think maybe I should do it that way or that way. But there is a proven recipe of success. They've basically taken all the knowledge that you need out of it, as long as you're willing to set your ego aside a little bit, look at the proof, follow the system. And then if you get stuck somewhere, there's always somebody to help you navigate that. So, and that just it unlocks the results that are it's proven. It's like a franchise, kind of. I mean,
Literally, yeah, that's how we made it. Just try to remove a lot of things. We made it for like I know there's a lot of some people in the community that are like very tech savvy, very marketing savvy. I know some guys are obviously at RevShare Brokers doing well. They ran their own marketing agencies and stuff. There's some savvy marketers, but the way the program is made that everyone can follow. And there's like a lot of done free components when, obviously there we try to get our clients to learn everything. So like for example, you learn a lot of it. So now you can just pivot on the opportunity comes on the fly, which is, where they go. But I'm grateful we had this opportunity to talk today. It was a lot of stuff we covered. I think that you're going to do some really good things this year, and I'm excited. I'm also excited to talk to you after this call about everything in general, how to really help scale. But appreciate the time. And for anyone watching, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next time.